Hey, what's going on everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm taking a bit of a new look at portrait photography with the non-traditional 75mm f2.0 autofocus lens by TTArtisan. Full disclosure before I begin, this lens was provided to me by TTArtisan for review, so please keep that in mind as I share my thoughts. And later in this video, I'll go over some of the details of the lens. But first, I want to show you how it performed in real-world use, since in my opinion, analyzing the photos themselves is one of the best ways to judge a lens. So without any further ado, let's get into it. For the first location, I was working with reflected light off nearby buildings rather than direct sunlight. I really enjoy this type of lighting. It's consistent, easy to manage, and it brings out a beautiful richness in skin tones. Composition-wise, things were fairly straightforward. A flat background, just a garage door, but the color is what really drew me in. I've always loved turquoise and aqua in photos. To me, they have a very dreamy quality to them, and because they are on the cooler side of the color wheel, warmer skin tones will always pop off of them, which adds a nice vibrance to the photos. Now, combining this with the lens, the 75mm focal length made it easy to isolate my model Julia against that clean blue background, something that could have been more challenging with a wider lens that would allow for the surrounding environment to leak into the frame. Another great thing about the lens in this location is that when I pulled Julia away from the garage door, the compression, along with using a wider aperture, softened the background in this really eye-pleasing way and helped draw all the focus onto Julia. And these photos I just described ended up being some of my favorite ones from this first location. Our second spot had a very different feel. Light was funneling in through the narrow gap between the buildings on both sides, still soft but more directional than before. The background though was the complete opposite of the first scene, busy, full of depth, and littered with neon signs and colors. But despite it being so different, I was still drawn to it because I thought it represented some of the character of the city, and combined with Julia's sunglasses, it created a slightly otherworldly aesthetic, which I thought was pretty cool. For framing, while photographing the wider shots, I shot vertically to capture the scale of everything, but for the medium or close-up shots, I mixed between vertical and horizontal compositions, shooting around f2.8. This allowed me to blur out the background just enough where you could still make out and take in the vibe of the city, but not have it be in too much competition with the star of the frame, Julia. And I thought the lens did a great job of balancing these two things, and here are some of my favorite photos from this spot. Now I want to take a moment to go over some specifics of the lens itself. If you've seen my reviews before, you might know that I don't dive too deeply into technical specs. It's just not what I personally pay attention to when buying a lens. Rather, I focus on these three main factors for my use: convenience, image quality, and price. Again, these are just the things that are important to me. So starting with convenience, this lens is compact and easy to handle. As I always say, I never want to be bogged down by anything while I'm out shooting. This lens definitely allows me to have that freedom. If figures are helpful for you to visualize things, TTArtisan lists the Sony compatible version of the lens, which I used, at 74mm in length, 67mm in width, and about 340 grams. And for a quality telephoto lens, to me, those measurements are pretty impressive. Next, in terms of image quality, it's probably a bit embarrassing to say, but I do not have the best eye for distinguishing nuanced differences in glass. I'm generally pretty happy with most modern optics unless something stands out as noticeably poor, and that's basically all I'm looking for when I judge image quality. Again, I'm pretty easy to please, and to me, the photos look clean and professional. Nothing stood out as odd, but I'll let you be the judge of that, and that's why I've been sharing the unedited JPEGs so you can get a clearer look at what exactly the lens is turning out. This last part I'll keep short. The price at $199 USD, it's pretty hard to beat. The lens is, for full frame, It has autofocus, fairly wide aperture, and I'll add the build quality felt pretty sturdy in the hands. So value wise, again, $199 USD for what you get. If I was in the market for a new telephoto portrait lens, I personally would consider buying it. And let's get back to the shooting. With the third and final location, this took place during golden hour, and most of the photos were backlit. Backlighting can create a beautiful ethereal look, and this session was no exception. I'll add though that the light was shifting at times with clouds passing by, which gave some of the images a different mood. Neither good nor bad, just different. And composition wise, the environment had great openness and depth. The images felt like they could really breathe, which I love in an image. I also love the repeating red elements from the overhangs in the background. They added a subtle but striking pop of color. I think these small things can often make a big difference in a photo. And channeling all of that with this last spot, we just played around with some different setups, some different looks, had some fun, and close out the session with these final shots. Okay, that's gonna do it for this one. I hope you found the video to be helpful. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.